Republican Congressman from North Carolina, Greg Murphy, who's going to play a key role in getting this bill passed. And he's also a member of the House Ways and Means Committee. Congressman, we appreciate you coming on. So tell us where you stand exactly on this, and then maybe what the big hangups are in the House right now.
Yeah, Bob, I think the House sent a pretty good bill over to the Senate, and they sent one back that had 85, 90% of what we agreed upon. The real sticking part for me, I'm a practicing physician in a rural part of eastern North Carolina, which relies heavily on Medicaid, Medicare to keep our doors open, and we're not able to do that so much with so many of the different payment schemes that go on. We're trying to fix a system in one swoop. That is really terribly broken, and that's the Medicaid system, where the Biden administration enrolled millions of people who should not be eligible on Medicaid. I don't know where I am right now. This is a difficult pill for me to swallow. I, probably more than anybody else in the U.S. Congress, has to face these people and to look at these people and deal with the hospital issues that face with cuts. But we desperately need to reform a system that is terribly broken.
Congressman, I know you said at this point you're not sure what you're going to do, exactly where you stand, but of course you talked about the challenges for you and your constituents. We know that there is a looming deadline heavily suggested by the president. Do you think anything is going to change in that time? Do you think this deadline for passage will actually be met?
Yeah, all of us Republicans absolutely want President Trump's agenda to be fulfilled. I think putting an artificial deadline is somewhat challenging. I'm a surgeon. We measure twice and cut once. Let's make sure that this is a good bill that the president and the American people can be proud of, rather than just a specific date.
Excellent point there. We also want to bring in former Republican senator from Pennsylvania and senior political analyst Rick Santorum, who is joining us throughout this show. Senator, we know that you've served in both the House and the Senate, and you have a lot of thoughts about this bill, but also you've educated us so much about the process. What are you observing most at this point?
Well, I just am curious with Congressman Murphy. Okay. He's especially concerned about cuts in Medicaid, but 20 of your members are saying that one of the reasons they don't want to support the bill is because it doesn't go far enough with Medicaid. So I know you're undecided, but part of the reasoning is, well, maybe I better vote for this because it actually could get worse if it comes out of a conference.
Well, I actually don't think that's the reason the 20 members, it's not about Medicaid with them. It's about the other things that the Senate did. You guys made everything permanent. That was $500 billion of costs. I don't think with those individuals it centers down to the Medicaid issue. I think it centers down to other measures that really have made the bill more costly.
Congressman, can you comment on what that is, what those other things are?
Well, you made things permanent. For example, you cut away the endowment tax, which, while small, is $15 billion of revenue that could have been brought in. There are other things, and I'll push hard on this, the endowment tax, not the endowment tax, but the doc fix, the MEI fix, was foundational for the change in the trajectory of Medicare cuts to physicians, and you only supplanted it with yet another Band-Aid of 2.5%. These are things that, when added together, culminated into a lot more revenue savings that could have been had. You look at the bill in totality. It's not just the Medicaid issue, but the Medicaid issue is one that is very poignant to rural America and Republican America.
And what about the $50 billion that was put in specifically for districts like yours?
Sure. And that is a good point. The devil is going to be in the details with so many HAS payments and so many other things that have come in. That said, when this money comes down, it lasts there for 5 years as the trajectory goes up. And believe me, $50 billion is a hell of a lot better than $10 billion. Does it make them whole? No. Do hospitals in my region, which is a very impoverished region of eastern North Carolina, are they going to have to close because of this? These are things I'm trying to figure out and weigh what is going to be the best policy moving forward. I live this. I have lived this for 35 years practicing medicine in a rural part of North Carolina. I know this probably better than anybody, because I've been on the ground dealing with not only patients, but with hospital expenses. So, pardon me if I have some real consternations about this.
I just, for the average person who's listening to this, who looks at Congress and said, here are all these congressmen Republicans who said, that we wanted to get rid of Obamacare and cull back Medicaid, and now this bill, which is really not a huge cut in Medicaid, and yet congressmen are unwilling to go along with it. How do you talk to the conservatives out there, the base that's out there, that's saying, I thought you wanted to get rid of all this, and now you're voting to keep it in place?
We do.
And in fact, don't want to change it.
And this is a huge cut to Medicaid. It takes our hospital system, which has a horrible profit ratio of only about 1.7%. It puts us underwater at -5%. Look, this is a terrible system, but kicking people off and limiting services is not what we want to do. In the House version, we went after waste, fraud, abuse, something that everybody can get after. The Senate version goes after things that are fraudulent, but in a manner that in my opinion, at this point in time, I'm having a hard time grappling with as severe as the cuts are. Look, they need to come, and some of these things are sham. The provider tax and some of the other things are literally things that have been in the system for years.
Yeah.
Engaging a system, we need to deal with those. I don't know that we need to do it in such a manner that we have to close hospitals to do it. I pray that doesn't happen, and I pray the $50 billion is enough to ameliorate those concerns.
Now, Congressman, I'm from a rural area just as well, and I know how important local hospitals are to a lot of those communities. For a lot of them, it's their biggest economic driver. It sounds like you want to eliminate waste, fraud, and abuse, but then when it came back from the Senate, it became kind of cloudy to you of exactly who is being eliminated for that, but making sure your American citizen and your constituents down there in your district are being taken care of at the same time, that they're not being booted off just as well. I think that you're trying to thread the needle here. Is that it?
That's it. That's it. Trying to thread the needle. And I compare different systems of healthcare in North Carolina. We're a very rural, very poor area in North Carolina. You go to Charlotte, you go to some of the other places, while they still have Medicaid patients, have an abundance of people with commercial insurance, which pay much more of the bills. I'm trying to look at my little world that I've been in for 35 years. I literally saw Medicaid patients yesterday, trying to make sure that we provide the access to care that should be given to care, but we get rid of some of the nonsense that's happened in this system, primarily because the Democrats have enrolled people on Medicaid.
All right, we're going to have to leave it there. Congressman Murphy, Dr. Greg Murphy, I like it. Measure twice, cut once.